Hi, welcome to the Newman Bond. My name's Laura Hartley. I am the Director of Annual Giving here at Newman. And right now we are in the middle of the best month of the year, our Heritage Month here. It's every February. And we are so lucky today because we have Miss Diana Stanley with us. Now, Diana is a 2017 grad of Newman University. She's an ABLA award winner. She's currently an attorney. And the fun fact about Diana is that while she went to school here at Newman, she worked in the archives. So she has sort of a unique knowledge of the history of Newman and our Heritage Month and our homecoming activities. So what we've done today is we've just kind of raided the archives and brought it up here to our heritage room. And
With permission. We didn't raid.
That's true. That's true. Permission. We always ask permission here at Newman. And Diana's going to go through a little bit of some of the things here. So thank you, Diana, for being here today. And just before we get into all this stuff, what is your best memory of Heritage Month during your time?
Memory. Well, when I was at Newman, I had a group of friends that we would dress to the nines when we went to high tea. So we made it a whole event production. And so just those memories of being very excited of hey, we were dressed in our best and we're going with fun hats and let's go eat way more food than was socially appropriate for individual serving. And so yeah, probably that of just the really fun memories from that. So
that's great. That's great. High tea is one of those things that if you're a Newman student, if you're a Newman employee, you do not want to miss. That's for sure. So like I said, we have just sort of a huge array of stuff in front of us. Do you want to talk a little bit about high tea since we brought that up and how that came about and some of the history?
Well, so I guess it kind of goes back to Newman's adoption of the name Newman. So Newman has gone through various iterations of names over the years. So we start right at the very beginning in 1933 as Sacred Heart Junior College. If you have ever been curious of, why did they start in 1933? Because that's in the middle of the Great Depression. The reason why is because the state of Kansas changed their educational credentials that you needed to be a teacher. And so you had hundreds of Catholic schools that had a bunch of nuns teaching in them that all suddenly needed additional credentials to continue teaching.
Really?
And so the sisters, they're a teaching order, and they themselves needed a bunch of people to go through these programs. They knew all of the other orders did too, and there were lots of other non-religious people that were teaching these schools. And so that's part of why Newman starts as an education program for teachers to help provide this service to the diocese that was really deeply needed.
Nice.
That did not answer your question about high tea.
No, but I love that.
So I guess just one, before we go on, one item that's in here that's interesting is this is a book from Leon McNeil, who was the very first president of Newman. Leon McNeil, when he died, he left all of his papers to Newman, which is a very special collection because he was involved in all sorts of civil rights movements, of Catholic social worker movements. So it's a very special thing to have in ours as part of his collection.
Oh, cool.
In terms of high tea, so Newman has various names that we go through over time. And in the 1970s, Newman was growing, it was expanding, we were adding a bunch of programs, and we were also seeing some of the first non-Catholics come onto our campus as well. And so Newman decided, which had previously been Sacred Heart College at that time, and they said, we think that we want to go for something that has a slightly different name, but is very much in the Catholic theology, Catholic collegial experience. And so they looked around and they said, well, who would we want to name a university after? And they looked to this English theologian, John Henry Newman, who did lots of important writing about the Catholic social experience and Catholic collegial experience. And they said he's the one to go for, because he was a bridge between Catholics and non-Catholics, and he very much believed in the liberal arts education. Well, as soon as you rename a university after somebody, you say, well, how can we honor this experience? How can we all get together and celebrate this guy's, his philosophical and scholarly endeavors and what he brought? And also have an opportunity for people to kind of learn about him. And so that's where high tea comes from. So high tea, you start seeing it in the 80s, if not before. And it's become this wonderful tradition over the years where various people across campus are coming together and bringing food into campus that are ideally, lots of British recipes. So we have one of the early examples here from high tea, where it is an invitation that somebody on campus had drawn, inviting people.
Beautiful.
Keep in mind, whenever you look at this, that this is before the age of having what we would think of as easy photocopiers, easy computers where you could just print. So I always think about when you see some of these newsletters of like, that took a lot of work for somebody to do and to draw and to replicate.
Yeah,
so,
most definitely.
Yeah. Well, on the high tea vein, one of the things that it has spawned over the years is a lot of cookbooks. So there are lots of cookbooks that have been done with all of the recipes that people brought that were often given as sort of a thank you to the volunteers of, hey, we came together, it took us all hundreds of hours to do, but we have done it, and take away some of the memories from it as well. So
Nice. Yes, I have made things for high tea, and I will tell you, it is very strict. It has to be the English recipes that we have so that we have a true high tea. And you were talking before we started about the sister who you thought probably started high tea. You want to talk a little bit about our beloved Sister Charlotte?
Yeah, so Sister Charlotte was definitely a big influence on the start of Heritage Month, start of and continuation of high tea. So high tea, so Sister Charlotte spent many years working at the university, and she was also the director of mission effectiveness, which partially made it her job to be the person for Heritage Month. And she did such a great job at it. But yeah, so high tea, lots of people came together in those early years. There were a lot of people from the English department, like Deanne Zitterkoff and people like that. High tea also originally, for a few years, spawned what's called the low tea. If anybody is familiar with that, I'm not sure if we still do it, but it was think of it as like the less formal, but you come together and you play a lot of fun games. So high tea and low tea, lots of fun things.
Most definitely. And that's one thing about high tea is it is a true high tea. There is no plastic, nothing. It's all, we've got a little tea set here that you can see. It's all glass, it's all china, it's all beautifully presented. Diana has a special relationship with the woman who, for the past, I don't even know how long, but she is sort of spearheads high tea.
So my mother has long organized high tea. My mother is not a Newman alumni, but Sister Charlotte came to her, I want to say back in 2013 or 2014, and basically told her it was her job now. She doesn't work for the university, she's just a volunteer. So yes, I know leading up to high tea that my mother's entire house will be covered in various teapots and things that are as they are in the staging period to go to high tea.
Yes. And what's great about, one of the great things about high tea, I think, is that when it comes to giving of your time, everyone does it. So the staff and faculty are often the people that are making the things, but then the students are the ones that are helping set up, they're helping serve, they're helping clean up. So while everyone gets to enjoy it, everyone also gets to partake in the work of it, which I think kind of makes it more of our own and something that's truly Newman unique. And Diana even has, this is a archive special, a thank you card from when Diana was in school from the high tea committee thanking her for her service. So what did you volunteer?
That particular year, I helped with all of the setup and teardown. So it was probably about 8 hours of my time.
Nice.
And also remember, we also then got dressed up to the nines to go to high tea in the middle of that. So it was just a whole high tea day.
Oh, good deal. So beyond high tea, there's plenty of things that go on during Heritage Month. It kind of started around high tea and then it's just sort of ballooned. We have both St. Maria de Matthias and St. John Henry Newman. We have masses for both of them during that month. But then we also have homecoming and lots of athletic
Yeah. Do you want me to
activities.
jump in about homecoming?
Yes,
on this?
please.
Yeah. So homecoming
We're
has
yin
its
and yang
own.
right here, you know?
So homecoming has its own fun history. Homecoming, the first one I think starts about 25 years after Newman's founded in 1933. So roughly around 1950, about 25 years, they say, well, hey, we're about to hit a big anniversary. It's 25 years. And so one of the ASC sisters, I think appointed herself as alumni person. They probably paid her, who knows. But she said, hey, I have all these alumni that want to come back to the university and they want to see all their friends. And so they organized the very first homecoming. So it was traditionally held in the fall for many years, and it was an opportunity to come to one of the games once they started athletic competitions, which Newman I think started in the mid to late 50s, but also just a time to come back, go to mass with each other, and have a big cookout. And so over the years, when they decided to start having Heritage Month activities, say in the 80s and 90s, they said, hey, how about we start maybe thinking about combining homecoming and Heritage Month? But along with homecoming, you have lots of different fun activities that arise. So one that I'll highlight out of our artifacts here is from the homecoming fun run. And Dan Giroux, who I believe was Dean of Students at the time, he donated his shoe in order to make it. So apparently the trophy company, they couldn't make a shoe large enough for the trophy to make sense. And so Dan Giroux, he donated one of his shoes and they said, we'll make the best out of it. And it's pretty fun. The other fun thing about this, so Newman's original gymnasium was called De Matthias Hall. So if anyone's familiar with the current De Matthias Hall, there was an older one. And this is actually made out of the floor of the original St. De Matthias gym. So it's a fun piece of, hey, we had this wonderful building that our athletes had so many wonderful experiences in. And so at this time, when all of these athletes are coming back to campus for homecoming, we're going to make this award out of something that, they remember and they miss.
Nice. I think we need to bring it back. I think the fun run needs to come back. It might be cold in February, but runners are crazy.
I will probably not partake in I should not be trusted to run in a 5K, but I will stand cheering if anybody wants to do a fun run, I promise.
There you go. And of course, a big thing with homecoming and athletics is mascots. We have a piece from, I think it's 2006, about our lovely mascot, the Jet. Do you want to talk a little bit about the history of the Jet bird?
Absolutely. So you have Newman adding athletics, and for the first few years, we didn't really have a mascot, and people decided that was probably a good idea to get one. And so they sort of circulated out. They had a big poll to the student body of, hey, what do you want? That was a pretty inconclusive poll, so they ultimately decided, well, what if we did the Jets? Because Wichita is it's a big aviation community. That would make sense to honor that. However, they adopted that right in the middle of the Vietnam War. And it was somewhat controversial to have a jet as your mascot in the middle of it. And so it was very clear at the outset that they wanted, at least for that time period, our mascot was the Jets. But to be clear, everyone should understand it was the commercial jets. So we were not fighter jets. We were commercial jets.
We were taking people from LA to New York in comfy seats, you know.
I don't know how fearsome the commercial jets are in a particular athletic context, but that was what they originally wanted. So every time I see Johnny Jet, I kind of like laugh to myself, what do you fly, commercial airliner Johnny? But having the jet as the mascot did not easily translate into having like an actual mascot person that was running around. And so they said, well, how can we maybe personify this a bit? And they went with the jet bird. The original mascot, you can see in here, that the original mascot, he had a pointed nose, and he was all blue and red, and people auditioned to be the jet bird.
Nice.
The other fun piece is that all of the original marketing and drawings for the jet bird were actually done by Blackbeard Bozen. So anybody in Wichita that is familiar with the Keeper of the Plains statue, the Native American artist that made that was Blackbeard. And he agreed to design the original jet bird. And so whenever you see some of those in marketing, like keep in mind that this was done by one of the best Native American artists of a generation.
That's awesome.
So it's a fun piece to connect of our local Wichita community towards it.
Nice. I'm learning so much. I hope you guys are too. Yeah, the bird is, the commercial thing just cracks me up.
We've rebranded, don't worry, it's a fighter jet.
And so, you know, homecoming, there's a lot of spirit when it comes to homecoming. Obviously, on this table, we've got a little pom-pom here. We've also got this shirt from Mark Potter, the most kind of recognizable coach that we've ever had here at Newman. And this was Mark Potter's Army. I don't know when this was. But so it was really an important thing during homecoming to support the athletics. Again, let's go back to your time. What was the athletic vibe while you were here at Newman? Did you, during homecoming week or Heritage Month, did you go to the game, see who was crowned homecoming king?
Well, yes.
Were you
yes.
homecoming queen?
I was not.
Oh, man.
I do love, that's very flattering to assume that I could have been homecoming queen. I really appreciate that. I'm going to log that in my back brain for when I need an ego boost. So definitely. So I was a member of the Troubadours. So I think that we go and traditionally the Troubadours would do like the national anthem at all of those Heritage Month, like those types of games.
Yeah.
Just lots of fun.
Very neat, very neat. And one thing that also happens during Heritage Month is every 2 years, the Hall of Fame, our athletics does their Hall of Fame banquet and inducts people into their Hall of Fame. And so we have this Hall of Fame shield that we think comes from around 2015. Probably was used at the event. It's a really fun event. We have some great people in our Hall of Fame. And then if you come to our athletic events, you can see their pictures in our gorgeous atrium over by Matias.
It's also just a fun time to see a lot of those athletes that may not have been on campus at a really long time, alumni. I remember a few years ago there was one, his name escapes me, he was like, I haven't been, he was the star of like the Newman 1970s basketball team, like probably maybe one of the big leaders of the 1970s basketball team. But he was like, I just haven't been on campus in like 2 decades and I gotta go back. And it was just so it's a wonderful time to reconnect to campus for
most
anyone.
definitely.
So,
Very nice. Is there anything else that we want to touch upon on this table that you really want the listeners to see? It's just sort of, we just have so much stuff.
There is a lot of fun. Well, one thing that I think is fun. So we have here a portion of the. It's a portion of the early catalog. So if anybody's looking through and figuring out, well, what could I major in, or how were things changed? So in here we have things like from the very first pre-nursing program, but then you also have all sorts of things like I want to say it was pre-home economics.
So if you're not quite ready for that,
if you're not quite, but don't worry, because right underneath it you have the pre-law program, which probably says something about lawyers. So just things to think about of like, the more things change, the more that they stay the same, of all of the different options when you go to college and are trying out different disciplines, different classes, and exploring. Possibilities are endless. So.
Most definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Absolutely. Is there anything else about Heritage Month or anything you want to?
Well, I think just the most important thing is that there are lots of fun, free activities throughout all of Heritage Month, high tea being one of them. And so you just take an hour, go to them, enjoy yourself, and just learn to love your campus, love the history of your campus, because there's a lot of wonderful things here.
Thank you. I learned so much, and I hope you did too. And check our website for the calendar of Heritage Month activities. As Diana said, we have tons of stuff. It's all free. We'd love to see you here.
I was like, what? I have no
I get a lot more blessings out of that.
really fun experience.
Really the Newman experience.